Namaskar. In the comments, I found something very interesting, and I got excited to talk about it. Somebody wrote that if there is an activity in meditation, if you're making effort, it means there is no meditation. Because the real meditation is when there is no effort, there is no movement. You just observe, you don't do anything. I would like to comment on that, and I would like to find out whether it is true or not. First of all, the question is, should we adopt active approach to life or passive approach to life? First of all, Western word meditation comes from the Latin word meditatio. Meditatio means deep thinking, pondering upon something. So deep thinking is not motionless, is not movementless. It is a movement, it is an action, though it is a subtle action. So Western definition of meditation is based on action, though the action is subtle. Let us look to the origins of meditation. That is the yoga of Patanjali. Yoga of Patanjali. The eight-limbed path contains jhama niyama, moral principles, asana, certain posture, pratyahara, pranayama, control over the breath, pratyahara, withdrawal of the mind from the external objectivities, from the world, from the body, from the thinking, dharana, concentration, focus in the mind, dhyan, pondering, thinking deeply, merging with the flow of ideation and trying to realize the essence of the object upon which you are meditating. And then finally samadhi, when you are merging with the object meditated upon. As you can see, every limb, every step of that yoga contains action. It is based on action. It is action. It is a subtle action that is going on in the mind. So that is not actionless. And even samadhi. When you go into samadhi, it is not actionless. But the action is so subtle, that flow is so subtle, that is invisible. It's just like... And because of this misunderstanding of yoga and meditation, there are few misleading paths. Oh, just let go of the ego and everything will happen by itself. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Don't be delusional. It's just like a piece of iron. You want to change that form of the piece of iron. Yes, the iron is made of the atoms of iron. So it is the same iron in the liquid form, in the solid form, and in the vaporized form. But to change that form from the solid to liquid and to vapor form, you have to apply energy. You have to slowly heat that iron with energy. And then the moment will come, the solid structure will become liquid. It will flow and it will evaporate eventually. So this iron will not change with the form from this to another without the application of energy, without action. So, in meditation, don't entertain this idea that, oh, I just let go of ego and I will just observe. I will not do anything. And everything is going to happen by itself. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing ever has happened in this way. You have to achieve that state, you have to practice an effort, you have to do some action within your mind. So, peace. I would like to talk a few words about peace, about when there is no movement. Obviously, peace is when there is no movement. There are two types of peace. One is static, like a stone. It is in peace, there is no movement. And then, actually, there is misinterpretation of yoga, Patanjali has given quite correct interpretation. He has given definition. Yoga chitti vrittih nirodhah. It means the withdrawal, the suspension of all the propensities of the mind, of all the occupations of the mind is yoga. When the mind becomes completely still and there is no movement, that is yoga. But this definition, if the person is not studying yoga under the guidance of a strong guru, he can be misled by the definition, because he may think that, okay, yoga means thoughtlessness. I will just stop the activities of my mind and I will be a yogi. If you go to coma, are you going to become a yogi? You come out of coma, wow, I'm enlightened. Or maybe even better, you drink some 1 liter of alcohol and then you will go into such a stoned state that there will be no single activity in the brain, in the mind. Are you going to become yogi from that? You're not going to become yogi. So that definition is correct, but you have to understand it properly. So one piece is the static piece. There is no movement. Why? Because the state is so crude. Movement is impossible. Then there is another state, is a sentient piece. The movement is so subtle, you cannot see it. And from this state to that state, the path is through action. The crude state, and you start to move, you start to work, you start to perform some action. At first, action is very inefficient. There is a lot of movement, and that movement is very visible, but nothing is happening. And you are trying, but nothing is happening. And then, after some time, you become subtler, and you start to apply your intellectual power. And you are doing less in the physical realm, but you are planning, you are envisioning, and then you do something, and it becomes efficient. Like in the childhood, I was thinking, I should become a king. Because king doesn't do anything. Everything is done for the king. But actually, the action of the king is subtle. You are the director, you are the boss. And you have the picture, you have the vision in your mind. And then you order, okay, you do this, you do that. And then you are not doing anything physically. You are applying your intellectual power, but things are happening. So that is the subtle movement. The movement is there, but it is subtle. And then when you are meditating and when you are developing the higher layers of the mind, your intuition awakens. And with that intuitive power, with that intuitive endowment, you just know this has to be done. You don't do actions almost at all, but you surgically, pointedly do something. And it has a great impact, it has a great results. So, and as you grow in intuition, your physical movement becomes invisible. The movement is very subtle, so subtle that it appears to be complete peace. The potentiality, it is grown from inability, from powerlessness to absolute power, absolute potential, but it has become completely peaceful. There is no movement. So that is the path. And that path cannot be just crossed by letting go of your ego. Ego has to become mature. Before you can, the ego first have to appear. You have to cultivate that ego. You have to bring it to maturity. You have to surrender that ego to the intuition and slowly merge the ego with the cosmic factor. The sadhana, the spiritual practice, is started by the doer portion of our mind. That means by the ego. And it is continued by the knower portion of our mind. That is the Mahatattva or existential I. And finally it is performed by the cosmic consciousness itself. So finally ego has to surrender to that all-guiding force, the cosmic consciousness. but it happens in the stages. First, the ego has to mature. So, I would conclude that yoga is for active approach to life. In meditation, we remain active. Maybe first it is cruder and later become more and more subtle, but still we are very active. In life also, karma brahmeti karma bahu kurvita. Action is God. Do as much action as possible. That is the motto of karma yogis. By action, you will realize so many things. So we have to move, we have to move, we have to move. In action lies the prosperity. If you think that you are sitting under the tree and the mango fruit will jump out of the skin, peel itself from the bone, and will jump into your mouth. Maybe, theoretically, in this large universe, somewhere, somehow, maybe in one chance of the 6 trillion, it is possible. But in practical world, it's never happening. It's never going to happen. So these ideas of just observing are misleading ideas. The sadhana have to be done, the action have to be done, and slowly the mind will become subtler. The mind will start to feel the cosmic flow, and with that cosmic flow, the mind will become very efficient. So that is the path of sadhana, in internal and external path of sadhana. I like very much. Oh, but one danger is there. When we remain very active, we tend to misappropriate the result of our actions. We believe that everything belongs to our little ego. I do, I get. But we fail to notice that what is acting within us, this ego, is powered by the inner spark of consciousness. We get energy from there, and therefore ego is able to perform things. So a wise person will understand that actions are not done by me, they are done by cosmic consciousness itself. I am just a tool. I am expressing that will of the cosmos. And it is a wise thing before every action to think about God, about Supreme Consciousness, to feel that actually it's not me, but the God is doing through me. And another thing is that when you think of God, when you think of the Supreme Consciousness, you dilute your mind with the greatness. Because as you think, so you become. You infuse the subtle flow in your inner flow. And therefore, your intuition becomes active. And then whatever you do becomes much more successful. And then you're not developing ego also, because it's not me doing. I'm feeling the cosmic flow, and I'm flowing with that cosmic flow. But I'm making an effort to flow with that cosmic flow, and I'm trying my best to accomplish the action. But I'm doing the action without attachment to the results of actions. I am not fearing the future. I am not desiring the future. I am in the present moment, and I'm doing my best to accomplish all my actions properly. This is the proper attitude. This is the proper attitude. I like very much one quote from my master. He said like this: whatever you speak or do, forget him never. Always think of Supreme Consciousness. And endlessly active, drift in bliss. Such a beautiful guidance. Endlessly active, drift in bliss. By doing action, by being engaged in action, you're slowly evolving yourself, and you're feeling that cosmic flow expressing through you. So, whatever you do or speak, forget him never, keep him in your heart, and endlessly active, drift in bliss. This is the summary of this video. Active approach without attachments to the result of actions, with the intense effort to try to feel the cosmic flow, with the intense effort to make mind subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler. Thank you very much for watching this. Write in comments what you think. I think there are gonna be many comments. Anyhow, we will try to sort it out and understand each other. Thank you.